So y'all ever have one of those days where you wake up and you're just like, today's going to be a good day? Well, today's one of those days, and hopefully I'll make it a little bit better. So let's get into it. Oh yeah. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm not much of a guitarist, a drummer, an instrument player, or anything like that. But God, you gotta love some good rock and roll. Ain't nothing like it. So if you can believe it, that was literally a YouTube audio track. It's called Chunk. And it's actually surprisingly good. I mean, I like that kind of music just because, I don't know, I've always enjoyed rock and roll. And there's just something about that attitude, you know? It's just something about that, like, we don't care about what's going on in the world right now. Like, screw you guys, we're going to do what we want because we don't care what you think. We do what we want because it's who we are. And I can respect that, you know, maybe not all the, drugs, sex, and alcohol, whatever, that might not be so great. But the point is, those people seem to stick to doing what they want to do, and they love it. And they do it, and they don't stop. Like, they are who they are, and they're not afraid to be who they are. They're not ashamed of it, which that's something I'm definitely working on. It's something that's very hard, and I think a lot of people probably struggle with that kind of stuff. When it comes to trying to be who you are, it's always like, you want to be what people want you to be. I mean, think about like social media, for instance. Like, how often do we spend on the internet and we're like, hey, let's go and make our lives look amazing. Everything is perfect, right? But is it really? Is it really perfect? I don't think so. I think that a lot of times people try to make their lives look better than they are. And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I'll take a picture of my car and it looks beautiful. It's got, nice reflections from the sunlight. It looks like it's nice and shiny. But I tell you what, you get up close and that thing is just torn apart. Like, you got rock chips and scratches and all these little imperfections. There ain't no Photoshop in real life. And you see, that's kind of part of the problem, I think, with a lot of things that happen nowadays is we get this expectation of like, hey, we need to be always happy. We need to always be feeling good. We need to always feel like everything is going great in my life. Because if it's not going great, then what am I doing here? That's not true. Like, why do we need to put ourselves in that way? Like, if you're feeling bad, feel bad. Sometimes it's good to feel those things. And sometimes feeling good isn't the only emotion. Anger is an important one as well. Like, if you're feeling angry, there's probably a reason for it. And maybe it's worth exploring. I mean, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I've been in therapy for a very long time, almost 10 years now. And I can tell you from a lot of experience that nothing gets better on its own. And like the longer you let things sit, the worse they get. The only way that things get better is if you do the work. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard that, and it's not uncommon for people to say that, and I'm glad to hear that, nowadays it seems like people are more and more accepting of problems with mental health. I mean, this morning I had a doctor appointment, psych doctor appointment, whatever you want to call it. And normally I don't go to the ones in the morning because this morning I got up and I'm in the car and I'm on my way to my appointment, and the traffic is just ridiculous. Now, I'm from Texas. We have some pretty crazy highway systems here, and people here are just some of the worst when it comes to cutting you off, not letting you merge. We're sitting in there and it's like gridlocked, and I hate traffic. Like, it's probably one of the number one things that I can't stand. So I'm sitting in the traffic. We're going maybe 5 miles an hour in a 70 mile an hour zone, just to give you a little bit of perspective. And mind you, everybody in this traffic jam is pissed off. We're all running late to our appointments. We're all, maybe not everybody, but a good chunk of us are probably either on our way to work or maybe we're on our way to appointment, whatever. Everybody's frustrated. Tensions are high. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I can't control the fact that these cars are blocking me and I'm going to be late. Like I could have got up earlier, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, here I am. And I'm in this situation, but I can't change it. So it's like, what do? Do you sit there and be upset about it? Or do you just keep going? So I just kept going. I mean, that's really all I could do. So, it's whatever. But the thing is, I still got super frustrated just sitting in traffic. I had several people not want to let me in. I drive a truck, so sometimes merging can be a pain in the ass. So I'm over here trying to get in. Nobody's wanting to let me in. I start getting angry and angry and angry. And the next thing you know, I finally get to the appointment. Now, I'm late. I still managed to get in, luckily. Thank God. We get in there, and, they ask, well, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Well, at this particular moment in time, I was extremely pissed off, frustrated. I mean, I'm pretty sure saying a few nasty words to both the other drivers and my doctor at this point. No fault of his own. It was just a byproduct of me being pissed off from traffic. And, that's on me. But that's just like, that's one of those little things that happens. And it's like, what do you do in those situations? Like, what do you do when you're pissed off about something that you can't fix? Like, what do you do? Well, the best answer is that you can't control it, so don't worry about it. Like, the matter of being 5 minutes late versus not going at all. The point is, my appointment was basically a little bit shorter than what it could have been, but I still managed to get in there, get what I needed, got everything done, and the day moves forward. And guess what? I left actually feeling better than when I got there. When I got there, I was feeling like total shit. I was pissed off. But by the time I left, I was feeling so much better, which is weird because normally when you go see those kind of doctors, you don't. But for whatever reason, today's just been a good day. And so sometimes you just got to take the wins that you can get, right? Like, that's what I try to do at least. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not a professional, and they've probably got way better advice than I could ever give. But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because today was just one of those days where I woke up and I was like, I want to feel good today. I want to do something good today. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to get on here and I'm going to do a podcast. I'm way behind. Like, I know I say everywhere, it's like, oh, we're going to do this every Sunday. And it doesn't happen. Well, today we're doing something a little different. It's just me. I don't have any guests. And this may be what I have to do just because I'm not always going to be able to rely on other people, right? Like, I can't always count on everybody to be here to do things for me. Like, I need to just be able to do it on my own. And so that's kind of what this is. This is going to be me kind of experimenting and trying to do it on my own, which is, well, it's we'll see how it goes. But the good thing is, if I can at least do one of these videos a week, that's at least one positive thing that I've done throughout the week, right? And if I'm doing those one good things, that builds, right? So I did this. I woke up today, I fed my dogs. There's a good thing right there, and we just try to keep stacking and building that momentum. And that's kind of the whole plan. At least for me it is. And it may sound stupid, but sometimes that's what you have to do. When you're in the pits of depression, anxiety, you name it, sometimes it's all about just those little incremental steps to help get you over that hump. And for me, I just find the little things, what little thing can get me going every day, get that little bit of momentum and just keep it rolling. But that's the whole thing is, how are you going to get on Instagram and social media and you want to put this image out there of like, ooh, everything is great and everything is beautiful and, oh, look at my beautiful whatever, my house, my nails, my makeup, my car, my intense six-pack ripped abs that are not photoshopped at all. And, like, that kind of stuff is the stuff that you got to wonder. You're like, why are we doing this? Like, why do we put ourselves into that? Like, why do we subject ourselves to always having to be good and positive and perfect and everything's great? That's not life. Life is messy. It's dirty. It's not always happy. There's other emotions out there. There's anger, frustration, love, passion. Like, well, passion may not be an emotion, but it's a feeling. But either way, the point is, there's a lot of things that happen in life that aren't always good. And I feel like in Instagram and social media and the news especially, they want to just highlight the negative or the extremely good. There's no like average, middle ground here. It's not like, hey, so today's an okay day. I got through today. And it's like, instead, we want to see either a headline of like, oh, there was this crazy thing that happened over here in this portion of the world, and there was this huge tragedy that happened over here, or it's, ooh, look at all this money I have, or look at all this. And it's never like just real stuff. It's never people just being 100% real. Like, how many times have you gone on there and you go on Instagram and you go to put up the post? I'm guilty of this. And you go to put on the post and you write up this thing and you write it all up and you put little hashtags and everything. And then you realize you're like, wait a second, but that's not like, I mean, that's me, but that's not really like genuinely me, right? There's always that like little piece of yourself that you hold out because you're like, it's kind of corny, or, oh, it's not perfect enough, or this just doesn't look completely right. And it's like, just be yourself. And I tell myself this too. It's like, why can't we just be who we are? If we're weird, we're weird. If we're not weird, we're not weird. Like, it's all based on your perspective. And the thing is, like, there's a lot of weird people out there, especially on the internet. But what's really weird is when those weird people try to act normal. And it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, just be who you are. Don't be an idiot. If you are an idiot, well, go get an education. Nowadays, there's so many ways that you can get educated. And I'm not talking like going to college. I'm talking like get on the internet and read, right? A majority of the things that I've learned throughout my life has been through Google. Like Google and freaking just going on the internet and reading about things and learning. Even when I was in college. Now, I have a 4-year degree. But even when I was in college, I learned more through the research I did on my own than I ever learned actually in class. Like, it's just, college is jumping through hoops. Unless if you're going to be like a doctor or a lawyer or something where it's a very technical degree, maybe an engineer, something like that, or math, maybe if you're wanting to teach math or do whatever you do with math. I'm not a math guy, business. But if you're looking to get into something else, it's like, why spend all that money to get into college and go into debt just to potentially get a job with all these other people that have degrees? It's like, what sets you apart, Like, I don't know. It just seems weird. Like, it seems to be the new thing nowadays where everyone's just like, let's go and join college, right? Let's get my 4-year degree, 6-year degree, and we'll have a good job. For some people, that may be true. I think it more depends on, it's like supply and demand, right? Like, what jobs are available currently? Well, jobs that are either specialized, technical, something that you have a skill, or maybe you have experience in something that not a lot of people do, right? If we're talking good paying jobs here, not like going to work at McDonald's, right? Different levels here. And there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. There's nothing wrong with working in food service. I've done it. And the thing is, when you do that, that's a good starting point. It's a good way to build up the whole, like, I'm going to become get this experience, maybe eventually get in some sort of management position, supervisor, whatever. Point is, you gain experience, you get you build up like this whole thing where people can be like, oh yeah, that person showed up on time, sometimes early, was dependable, reliable, all these things, right? And this will help later on. So when you have that education, you have that technical specialization, whatever it is, now you have both the work ethic, you have the record where people can go back and see that, like, hey, I've got my shit together. I'm not a complete moron, right? But, like, you always hear people complain about, oh, I really didn't want to get into this stuff, but, like, minimum wage, right? There's a huge problem with it, and it's something that I have no idea how we're going to fix. The problem is that if you raise the minimum wage, you're not really changing anything for the businesses. You're basically changing the amount of people that they can hire we're talking small scale here, not like global or anything like that, but you're changing the amount of people that they can hire. So for those people, it's going to be great. But now the people that are not getting hired, what do? because they can only hire so many jobs, right? In those lower level jobs. And now you start adding in the fact of AI and the idea of things that are going to change over time as far as like technology, to where eventually, like, do you really think that we're going to have people flipping burgers in 50 years from now? I kind of doubt it. I think that eventually it's all going to be automated. So if you want to have something that's going to last a long time, you need something that can't be replaced by robots, right? So you might be thinking like, well, what's that? What is the thing that's not going to be replaced by robots? Well, there's a couple of things. One, the people that program the robots, number one, completely outside of my field. And number two is just anything in the creative field, entrepreneurial field, things that are related, that require a human element that can't be replicated yet on AI or computer programs. I mean, that's really the way that you'll have an edge. Now, that's obviously that's not a great way to start, because most of these jobs, they're high risk. The potential to make money is there, but there's also a huge potential where you might not, right? Like, there's just certain things, certain jobs that there is potential there, but it's a huge risk. And for some people, they can't take that risk. They got families, you got to put food on the table, whatever. But that's why, like, when you're younger, you have those opportunities. You can make more risks. You can take more of those things, because even if you fail, you still have time to start over. Versus if there's somebody, say, like, you know, maybe they're 60. By the time you're 60, like, you don't have a lot of room to sit there and risk things. Like, you need things secure by that point, right? So it's just one of those things. It's a very tricky situation. So it's all about finding the thing that people want, but that you can offer that nobody else is offering, or that very few people are offering, right? It's the whole, like, blue ocean theory, right? It's the idea of you have, like, a saturated market. Like, think like Walmart, right? So you've got all these people. We'll put it like on YouTube, right? We've got all these people on YouTube, all these creators, and they're all creating this. Generally, you see the same thing on YouTube, right? You see your vlogs, you see your, like, hair and nail and makeup stuff, you see, like, how-to videos, etc. There's a lot of people making a lot of the same content. So then every now and again, you see these people that blow up out of nowhere, and you're like, what in the world? Like, where did you come from? What was the thing that got you started? Well, it's simple. You literally went and picked something that nobody else is doing. Look at ASMR. Was there any ASMR channels on here literally like 6 years ago? Not that I know of, but I could be wrong. Point is, when that came out and it became a thing, people were then going to the ASMR, and it was this new niche thing. There wasn't a lot of people doing it. So the people that were creating the content, there started to become an audience, and there wasn't hardly any competition. But if you noticed, then a bunch of other people started picking up on the trend, and now this ocean is now full. But the blue ocean theory still holds, because they were the first ones there. They cornered that portion of the market, and they got their audience. So now it's going to be incredibly difficult for other people coming on to try to get into that space. It's just one of those things. It's simple supply and demand, right? They're going to go to the people they know and the people they trust, rather than starting with somebody new majority of the time, right? So but that could be applied to when you're looking at jobs. Think about, like, if I was an employer and I'm looking for an employee, I want someone that can fill a specific slot that not a lot of people can. Or it could be the opposite, and maybe I have a bunch of people applying. So what am I going to do? I'm going to pick the cream of the crop, the best options to fulfill those duties. So it is a shitty situation, though, because what do you do when you ain't got money to put food on the table, and now you're trying to go get a job? You're trying to be able to afford shit, and you can't even barely make your bills, if that. You know, it's just crazy. Like, this whole poverty situation sucks. And, like, if it were up to me, I wish there was a way that we could fix it. I wish there was a way that we could bring everybody up, because that's how society in whole will start to progress. Like, if we could get everybody on I don't want to say the same playing field, because I think that you should have equal opportunity, not necessarily equal in that you can have the same amount of money. I think that the money is going to come to the people that are willing to work for it, right? Everybody should have the same opportunities. And it's up to those people's choices and decisions as to where that takes them, right? I think that's more important than having a situation. But if you're in a situation where you don't even have that opportunity, where because of other circumstances, I mean, there's some people that are in the homeless community that have gotten to a point to where there's so many problems with drugs, and it gets to a point to where it's almost impossible for them to get a job because just based on general things here, they're not going to have themselves well kept, right? They're probably going to smell. Where are they going to take a shower, right? Where are they going to go to get a shave, right? They're literally living on the streets. So now you know the common thing is, hey, go get a job, bum. Okay, how? When there's literally like 20, 30 people that are way more qualified, that actually are well kept, they're going to have a good image. Like, most companies won't hire somebody unless if they meet those like basic, like, hey, can you wear clean clothes? Can you not smell? Those kind of things. Those are like general requirements for most companies. So when it comes to that, like, how do you get them out past where they're not afraid of sleeping under a bridge, where they're not worried about used needles and all these other things that go on in that community? Like, it's its own whole problem, especially if you're in California. Holy crap. I took a trip to California, and this was like a couple months ago. I could not believe how bad the homeless situation is there. Like, they had literal like tent cities. Like, you'd be driving, they'd be like under the bridge, and it was like a whole community of just homeless people just hanging out. Like, it's incredibly bad. And from my understanding, a lot of that comes from the fact that they decriminalized a lot of crime there. Now they can steal up to, like, it's as long as it's under $1,000, it's just like a misdemeanor. Like, every day they can pretty much do that. So it's like there's no incentive for them to get off the street, basically. And anyway, that's a whole completely different issue. But it's just like, I feel for those people, and I wish that there was a way that there was a way that we could do this as a whole. But the problem is, I don't know if we ever can, because we all like picking sides. Oh, I'm a Republican. I'm a Democrat. I am a libertarian. I am a moderate. Like, does that really matter? It, like, what you are in terms of who you associate in those things, like, it doesn't matter. Like, what matters more is policy and who's actually going to achieve the proper goals. Like, who's looking out for the betterment of the country, right? I mean, I'm the type of person, like, I don't care what side you're with. I don't give a shit. 9 times out of 10, I hate politics. But the thing is, like, I care about this country. Like, I served for this country. I grew up in this country. I love this country. Like, everything, not everything, but a lot of things about this country are really, really great. And there's a reason why people are coming from all over the world to try to get into this country. Because it's okay, I don't want to sound elitist here. It is one of the greatest countries in the world. I mean, let's face it. It is. There's things that are offered here that are not offered in other countries. Our freedom of expression, our freedom of speech. I mean, that alone is astounding. The things that we can do and say here without getting in trouble, compared to if we were in other countries like, say, Russia or China or, you know, some of those places. Yeah, good luck with that. You know, good luck just trying to say whatever's on your mind. Do you think this would be happening? Probably not. Or at least not at great risk. I could say something, and next thing you know, knock, 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 here they come, right? That would not be very good. Like, that's not something that I want to have happen. But my point is, I care for people, especially people that are suffering, no matter what the suffering is. And I wish that there was a way that we could fix this problem. I wish there was a way that we could take these people and help them out. And I'm sure that, you know, we've got programs, yes, and I'm sure that there are some success stories. But if it is so successful, then why is it that we continue to have this problem? Like, I'm almost wondering, is it because is it an issue with society in general? Is it a problem with our system? Like, what causes it? You know, I mean, I know there's a lot of factors, and I'm probably just went way off the deep end on this one. How do we go from Instagram to solving, like, world hunger and homelessness? I don't know. That's just how my brain works sometimes. I just kind of go off on a rampage. Not a rampage, a rampant. thought process, I guess. But it's just one of those things that I think about sometimes, and I always wonder, is there a real solution? Is there a way that we can get everybody on a level playing field to where we have those opportunities? Like, there will always be fuck ups. There will always be people that screw up and just, continue to fail. And we need those failures. Like, we need people that are going to fail, because we can't all be successful. Let's face it. There's a certain thing that comes with success that comes from hard work. And the people that are on the grind up can appreciate when they see somebody being successful. Sure, some people get jealous, whatever. But the point is, like, we need those different levels of success. It's kind of like the whole thing with yin and yang. You got to have good and evil. Because if you don't have the evil to offset the good, you don't have the good to offset the evil. It's like, without it, it's nothing. Imagine good. What would you contrast good with if we had no evil? Would it even be good? It would just be. Same thing if you had just evil. Would it be evil if that's all we had? It would just be. So it's the same thing with success. In order to have success, there has to be failures, right? I mean, sure, some people probably become successful and they never fail a day in their life. I don't know who those people are. I don't know if they're real people. Maybe they're aliens. I don't know. Maybe they're chilling over there at Area 51. Who knows? But, I've never met anybody like that. Everybody I've ever met and have ever talked to has had failures throughout their life. At some point. Maybe not in business. Maybe it was in personal relationships. Maybe it wasn't in personal relationships. Maybe it was in finances. Maybe it was... We all have failures. The point is, we're all flawed. Like, that's the point. Like, we're all screwed up. But we all try to act like we're not. Well, not all of us, but a lot of people try to act like they're not. I try to be real and I try to be transparent. And sometimes it's hard to, like, portray that on camera, because there's just something about being in front of a camera sometimes that can affect the way that you talk, or maybe the way that you think. And I try to keep it as realistic as possible. And I try to be who I am. So a lot of these thoughts, like, they may be kind of out there, but they're my thoughts and it's what I think. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. So I would be curious to know what you guys think, because it's, it's one of those things where, I mean, what do you do? Like, what do you do in this situation? Has there been any good ideas? Like, is anybody out there thinking about these things? Like, I don't know. It's, and I personally don't watch the news. Not because I don't want to be informed, but because I don't want to be pissed off. Like, I just don't want to be pissed off, because the news literally pisses everybody off. Have you ever known somebody that got on the news and was happy about it? I don't think so. I think most people that watch the news are pretty pissed off most of the time. I think it's mainly just because, well... Oh, sorry, my mouth. Oh, it's getting dry. Oh, man, that's good. I think it's mainly just because a lot of the stuff you see on the news is all negative. It's all designed to get a rise out of you. It's all about those taglines. It's all about those, what do they call it? Headlines and titles. They just want to make you get, just make you excited about it, whether positive or negative. It's kind of the same thing on YouTube, though. I mean, think about it. How many times have you gone on YouTube, maybe even this video, and you're like, ooh, that's a good title. Or it's like, ooh, I kind of wonder what's going on there. And then you click on it and you're like, well, that was a waste of 10 minutes. Like, how many times has that happened? That's like my number one fear with these things, is I don't want to waste people's time. And hopefully the people that do watch get something out of this, or through my other channel, hopefully they get stuff out of watching those videos. But sometimes I'm just like, man, I really hope, like, that's why I try to put a lot of effort into it. The podcast is more relaxed and it's supposed to be more of a fun time. But honestly, even if nobody's listening, this is more for me just to be able to get some of my thoughts out there. Because a lot of times if you get the thought out of my head, I don't have to think about it anymore. And I got a lot of thoughts. Like, a lot of thoughts. Like, it's ridiculous. And not THOT thought, like thought, like THOUGH thought. See, spelling is hard when you don't have a pen. Yeah, you got to be kind of careful with that. So, oh, and another thing that happened, I don't know if I don't think I've shown it on here or my other channel. So, one of the things that I've been kind of dealing with a lot lately is the fact that I'm getting old. Well, not old, but older, right? And so I'm starting to lose my hair. Like, it's starting to thin in some spots, and I started noticing patches. Now, some people say it could be from stress, but I was kind of like, that's a bullshit. But I just hit the wrong button and I stared into a wall. What I meant to say was, that's a bullshit. So anyway, yeah. The point is, I started losing my hair back when I was like 22. And a lot of it, I think they thought was like stress related. Basically, it was like when you're under a lot of stress, sometimes that can affect it. But the fact that I was only 22 was kind of young, and it didn't really bother me so much back then because, you know, I was in the military, I had short hair, it was whatever. Then I got out, and then I started growing it out, just trying to grow it out. And man, as a guy, and I'm sure it's the same if there's any women out there dealing with this, but when you lose your hair, like that's like a very, very difficult thing, especially for a guy that's a single guy like me. And it really wrecks with your confidence. And for a long time, I was just trying to kind of figure out ways to kind of deal with it. And I used to wear these headbands all the time. In all of my videos, I used to wear them. And I love the headbands too because they keep my glasses on. Because when you're working on cars, and if you know anything about it, you start sweating, you look down, and boom, they fall right off. It's kind of a problem, but these headbands would keep it on, and they still looked okay. I got made fun of quite a bit, but I still wore them. But eventually it just got to be too bad. I got a few good looks in the camera, and I was like, this is a problem. And then I did something kind of crazy. Check this out. Yeah, it's yep. So it's all gone. I shaved it all off. Basically, I don't know. My thought was that if I could just accept the fact that I was losing my hair, that maybe shaving it would be a better route. Get to save a lot of money on haircuts because I just do them myself now. And, you know, the whole not having hair up top is going to be kind of an adjustment. But, you know, I look at it like this. Some of the top performing, most successful people in acting, in movies, and action movies like Jason Statham, The Rock, you notice they don't have any hair? I'm just saying. Now, obviously, I'm not The Rock. I know. I'm not that sexy of a beast, okay? I get it. But the point is, maybe eventually I can get like Jason Statham, right? That's a little bit more realistic, I think. Maybe I'm dreaming, but the point is that, like, wow, that's a crazy thought. Me as Jason Statham. The point is, I realized really fast that I was more upset about the fact that I was losing it than once I shaved it. I was able to just kind of be like, nah, I don't have to think about it. Like, it's gone, right? I'm pretty cue ball right now, but it's like, the thing is that since I lost my hair, well, I didn't lose it all, but since shaving my head and everything like that, I've learned that it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, my initial reaction when I started losing my hair was just like, it was like the end of the world. I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to meet a girl again. I am, you know, just ugly. I won't be able to do anything. Nobody's going to want to see my videos anymore, blah, blah. Like, I've got a really toxic brain. So I started going through all these things in my head. I started losing my hair and all that. And it was just like, really frustrating. And this is just like a stupid thing. Like, most people probably be like, it's just hair. Who cares? Shave it. Everybody goes bald eventually. But like, I don't know. For me, it really hit me kind of hard for some unknown reason. And I'm sure there's other people out there that understand this feeling. Like, as a young guy, when you start losing your hair early, it's very, very rough for your confidence. Like, it's a killer. But once I shaved, I realized, like, it's not as bad as I thought. And especially because, like, I wear glasses. Now, if I had my glasses off, I think this would be even better, ideally. But when you wear glasses already make it kind of difficult because you're already kind of, you know, you got a certain look that's kind of hard to pull off. But now you get rid of the hair too. Yeah, it can be kind of a challenge. But the thing that I learned about it was that it was better just to cut it off, rip off the Band-Aid fast, and just move on. Because the longer I was sitting there trying to basically process it and deal with it, the worse that it got. And then the second I cut it off, it was like, well, there's no going back now. Because even if it grows back, it's still going to be patchy and thin and just not good. So I just kind of accepted it and went on with it. So now this is my new look. Cue ball, baldy, whatever you want to call it. The thing is, I'm going to own it, right? There's no need for me to try to hide it or try to fake it or anything like that. Like, this is the new me. And that's the whole thing, is like, I want to be able to show who I really am and not just like this inflated image of what I want to be. And I think that's the important takeaway here, is that no matter what we do, social media, in real life, whatever, is that we just got to be more real. We got to be who we are and just accept us for who we are, right? I got to stop trying to be something that I'm not. I feel like I do a pretty good job of being myself, but there's still times where I still fall back. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that deal with this too. I know I'm not the only one. I think everybody does this to some degree just because we all want to be accepted, no matter what we do. But my goal for, we'll just say this next week, starting today, is to try to be more like myself and less like what I think I want other people to see. So that's going to be it, guys and gals and whoever else may be listening. I appreciate your time. Thank you for sitting down with me and hearing my ramblings about the world. And I hope you all have a great week. Good night.